Behind Hollywood's golden age shimmered darker tales. Unexplained deaths, hushed scandals, and whispered secrets never meant for the spotlight. These enigmatic stories of stars whose lives ended abruptly still haunt Tinseltown, raising troubling questions. Did fame conceal sinister truths? Step into the shadows where the curtain never fully closes, and the final scenes remain forever unscripted. Carl Switzer, 1959. Forever immortalized as the freckle-faced rascal in Our Gang shorts, Carl Switzer struggled after childhood fame faded. By his mid-20s, he juggled bit acting parts, dog training gigs, and dubious side hustles. On January 21, 1959, Switzer and friend Jack Piot visited the suburban Los Angeles home of Moses "Bud" Stilts, a hunting buddy who owed Switzer $50 for a lost dog reward. Accounts diverged sharply on what followed. Stilts claimed Switzer, drunk and belligerent, pounded on the door, brandished a switchblade, and threatened to kill him. Stilts fired a .38 revolver in self-defense, a bullet tearing through Switzer's groin and rupturing an artery. Piot testified Switzer only banged loudly, demanding payment, and produced a jackknife after Stilts pulled a gun. A teenage witness inside the house later alleged Switzer had merely knocked, then tussled with Stilts over the weapon before it discharged. Police found a penknife under Switzer's body and a bullet hole in the ceiling, evidence of a warning shot, but no fingerprints on the knife. A coroner's jury ruled the shooting justifiable homicide after a single afternoon's hearing. No formal trial ensued. Friends insisted Switzer carried the knife as a tool, not a weapon, and had recently landed promising acting roles, undermining claims he was suicidal or reckless. Stilts sold the house and avoided press. Switzer was buried in Hollywood Forever Cemetery under a modest marker reading, "Beloved Son, Alfalfa." Decades later, researchers petitioned for a reinvestigation, citing inconsistent police reports and missing ballistic tests, but authorities refused. The case long closed. Thus, a boy who once made millions laugh died in a fog of conflicting testimonies. Another casualty of Hollywood's ruthless transition from spotlight to obscurity, where even the truth struggled for a speaking role. Thelma Todd, 1935. Nicknamed Hot Toddy for her effervescent comedic timing, Thelma Todd owned the dual-level sidewalk cafe, perched above Pacific Palisades surf. On December 16, 1935, the 29-year-old actress was discovered slumped behind the wheel of her chocolate-brown Lincoln convertible in the cafe's attached garage. The motor had long since cooled, but Todd's elegant evening gown and mink still reeked of exhaust. The coroner cited carbon monoxide poisoning, yet bruising on her lip, a fractured nose cartilage, and blood on her dress hinted at violence. The night before, Todd attended a star-studded party hosted by director Roland West, her business partner and reputed lover. Witnesses reported a quarrel. West wanted Todd to limit her late-night revelry, fearing it would hurt cafe profits. Mobster Charles Lucky. Luciano also hovered at the fringes, pressuring Todd to allow an illicit gambling den upstairs. She allegedly rebuffed him with sarcasm. Investigators noted the garage's side door was locked from the outside, implying someone else sealed it. Yet a grand jury deemed the death accidental, concluding she passed out while warming the car after being locked out of her apartment. Rumors swirled that West, in a jealous rage, struck her and staged the scene, or that Luciano ordered a mob hit made to look accidental. Years later, West reportedly confessed on his deathbed, "I killed Thelma," though no written record exists. The Hillside Cafe still stands, its Art Deco facade weathered, its upper windows forever watching the ocean, and the ghost of an ice cream blonde who never got her last laugh. George Reeves, 1959. When police arrived at 1579 Benedict Canyon Drive on June 16, 1959, they found TV's Superman sprawled naked on his bed, a .30 caliber Luger at his feet, a bullet lodged in the ceiling. Downstairs, Fiancée Leonore Lemon and party guests continued drinking, claiming they'd heard a shot, maybe two. The LAPD declared death within hours, citing Reeves's alleged despondency over a stalled career. Yet inconsistencies abounded. No fingerprints on the gun, bruises on Reeves's head and chest, powder burns that didn't match the gun's barrel length. Ballistics revealed 2 additional bullet holes in the bedroom floor, unexplained by investigators. Reeves had recently rekindled optimism. He'd negotiated a return to Adventures of Superman and secured new film roles. His complex romantic web deepened suspicion. For years, he'd been involved with Toni Mannix, wife of MGM fixer Eddie Mannix, a man rumored to wield mob muscle for the studio. Reeves ended the affair to marry Lemon. Gossip columns buzzed that Toni was heartbroken, Eddie enraged. Some witnesses allege Mannix's bodyguards shadowed Reeves in the weeks before his death. Lemon's own statements shifted. She joked, "He's going upstairs to shoot himself," moments before the gunshot, then later denied hearing anything. A second autopsy in 1999 found unexplained bruising, but insufficient evidence to overturn the ruling. Books like Hollywood Kryptonite argue Mannix ordered a hit. Others finger Lemon in a drunken confrontation. In the end, the Man of Steel's demise remains encased in leaden doubt, proof that even superheroes can't escape the deadly gravity of Hollywood intrigue. Marilyn Monroe, 1962. At 4:25 a.m., on August 5, 1962, Dr. Ralph Greenson peered through Marilyn Monroe's bedroom window, shattered it with a fireplace poker, and found the actress nude, face down, clutching a telephone. Empty Nembutal bottles lined the nightstand. Yet the autopsy found no residue in her stomach, suggesting suppository administration or injection. Monroe had spent the last months oscillating between hope, new film offers, a romance with baseball star Joe DiMaggio rekindled, and despair, fueled by barbiturate dependence. Diaries and FBI files hint at affairs with President John F. Kennedy and Attorney General Robert Kennedy. Neighbors reported hearing a helicopter land near her Brentwood home, hours before her death. Others claim Robert was seen leaving the property. Housekeeper Eunice Murray's timeline shifted repeatedly, first saying she discovered Monroe at midnight, later at 3 a.m. Why did Murray launder bedsheets before police arrived? Why was Monroe's personal diary missing? LAPD Sergeant Jack Clemens, first on scene, noted it looked too tidy, as if staged. Coroner Thomas Noguchi privately questioned the absence of pill capsules in her digestive tract. In 1982, the Los Angeles District Attorney reopened the case, but political stonewalls kept files sealed. Theories range from CIA silencing, fearing Monroe's pillow talk knowledge of Cuban plots, to mafia retribution against the Kennedys. Others argue accidental overdose. Monroe, unable to sleep, mixed chloral hydrate with Nembutal under a doctor's orders. Yet the phone in her hand suggests a final, aborted plea for help. Her candlelit vigil drew 100,000 mourners. But the real memorial is an unending debate. Did Hollywood's brightest star extinguish herself? Or was her light deliberately snuffed out? Jean Harlow, 1937. Dubbed the Platinum Blonde, Jean Harlow electrified Depression-era audiences with frank sexuality and sly humor. By 1937, she was MGM's top draw, filming Saratoga opposite Clark Gable when she collapsed with nausea and bloating. Studio doctors dismissed it as influenza, urging her back to set. In truth, Harlow suffered advanced nephritis, a legacy of scarlet fever at 15. Over 9 days, her face ballooned, breath reeked of urine, and she begged, "Mother, I can't breathe." MGM executives barred visitors, fearing bad publicity, while her mother, a domineering Christian Scientist, resisted hospitalization. When doctors finally admitted her to Good Samaritan Hospital, it was too late. Harlow died June 7th, age 26. The official cause: acute renal failure. Yet conspiracy theories took root in the vacuum. 2 years earlier, Harlow's husband, producer Paul Byrne, was found shot in their Benedict Canyon home. Police called it self-ending after discovering a note. Last night was only a comedy. Rumors spread that Harlow's mother, or MGM fixer, Eddie Mannix, staged the scene to protect Harlow from scandal over Byrne's impotence, or ending by Byrne's deranged ex-wife. Some believe Harlow's kidneys were damaged by a beating she allegedly received the night Byrne died, linking her eventual demise to foul play. Others suspect toxic hair bleach. Her signature platinum color came from weekly applications of ammonia, Clorox, and Lux Flakes. Gradually poisoned her. MGM reshot Saratoga using stand-ins and turned her funeral into a publicity spectacle, forbidding photographers from capturing her swollen appearance. The platinum star was buried in a custom white gown, her crypt inscribed, "Our Baby." Though her death was natural, the secrecy surrounding her illness and Byrne's unresolved end cloak, Harlow in perpetual twilight. Hollywood's angel, forever trapped between studio gloss and whispered tragedy. Elizabeth Short, The Black Dahlia, 1947. On January 15, 1947, a young mother pushing a stroller through a vacant Leimert Park lot spotted what she thought was a discarded mannequin. It was Elizabeth Short, 22, severed at the waist, drained of blood, mouth carved ear to ear in a Glasgow smile. The killer scrubbed her body, posed it with arms above the head, intestines tucked beneath buttocks, and placed tufts of grass in the wounds, ritualistic staging unseen in Los Angeles annals. The press dubbed her Black Dahlia for her dark attire and rumored fondness for the 1946 noir, The Blue Dahlia. LAPD homicide captain Jack Donahoe led 750 investigators, interviewed 150 suspects, chased 60 false confessions. A packet mailed to the Los Angeles Examiner contained Short's birth certificate, address book, and cryptic notes cut from magazines, taunting police. Early suspicion fell on Mark Hansen, owner of the Florentine Gardens nightclub, where Short occasionally stayed. He admitted to rejecting her advances. In 2003, retired detective Steve Hoddle presented evidence implicating his late father, Dr. George Hoddle, whose Hollywood mansion's basement dogs reportedly detected human decomposition. George's handwriting matched the Dahlia letters. He owned surgical training and was once tried and acquitted for incest. Yet DNA evidence remains inconclusive. Other theories spotlight a sadistic band of ex-military surgeons or a lone drifter. The LAPD still keeps key files sealed, citing open case status. Short's grave in Oakland reads, "Beloved Daughter," while her dismembered legend feeds books, films, and conspiracies, an eternal noir enigma. Carole Landis, 1948. Glamorous, big-hearted Carole Landis entertained troops across 2 continents during World War II, logging more USO miles than any other star. But by 1948, studio interest waned, and she embarked on an affair with married British actor Rex Harrison. On July 5th, Landis dined with Harrison at her Pacific Palisades home, then retired to her bedroom. Next afternoon, Harrison found her lifeless, a Bible open to Psalm 23, and a glass of milk by the bed. The coroner recorded ending bisequenal. A farewell note to her mother read, "I'm sorry, my darling. God bless you." Yet questions surfaced. Harrison admitted spending an hour removing love letters and phoning his press agent before alerting police. Friends recalled Landis's optimism. She'd signed a new Fox contract and purchased furniture that morning. The missing second note, allegedly addressed to Harrison, vanished. Some believe Harrison rebuffed her demand for divorce that night, prompting impulsive overdose. Others whisper he supplied the pills or delayed aid long enough to doom her. Studio fixers shielded Harrison, and tabloids painted Landis as a lovesick has-been. Today, her marker at Forest Lawn bears only her birth name, Frances Ridstey. The bright-eyed pinup who boosted GI morale remains overshadowed by a final act still debated in hushed tones. Dorothy Dandridge, 1965. Trailblazer Dorothy Dandridge shattered barriers with her Oscar-nominated role in Carmen Jones, 1954. Yet systemic racism left her few roles afterward. By 1965, she faced bankruptcy, a failed nightclub comeback, and responsibility for her institutionalized daughter, Heroin. On September 8th, her manager Earl Mills found her in her Sunset Strip apartment, nude on the bathroom floor, phone dangling. The coroner ruled acute imipramine intoxication, antidepressant, but could not determine if it was accidental or suicidal. Pills were scattered, some dissolved in a water glass. Yet friends noted Dandridge habitually cut tablets to adjust dosage, hinting at miscalculation. Bruises on her shins and a small foot fracture suggested a fall prior to death. Mills claimed she'd phoned him hours earlier, elated about a Las Vegas residency. Conversely, financial records revealed she had just $2.14 in her bank account, fueling theories. Conspiracy murmurs involve shady business partner Jerry Rosenthal, who embezzled her funds and allegedly visited that night. Police found no forced entry. In 2000, a re-examination of autopsy slides proposed embolism from a foot injury, but the official cause remained drug overdose. Dandridge's ashes lie at Forest Lawn. Her legacy burns brighter each year, but the ambiguity of her final moments endures, a tragic coda to a career that Hollywood never fully allowed to flourish. Bobby Fuller, 1966. On July 18, 1966, rock musician Bobby Fuller, 23, was discovered in his Oldsmobile outside his Hollywood apartment, body soaked in gasoline, face bruised, bleeding from the mouth. LAPD listed the death as accidental asphyxiation due to inhalation of gasoline vapors. Fans balked. Fuller's band, the Bobby Fuller 4, had 2 top 40 hits, and he'd just negotiated a national tour. Autopsy photos reveal petechial hemorrhaging and hand abrasions consistent with assault. Witnesses saw unidentified men tailing Fuller days before. Rumors link the killing to mob-connected record mogul Morris Levy over royalty disputes, or to LAPD corruption involving narcotics officer Eddie Nash. Fuller's girlfriend, Melody, claimed he'd been forced into a car hours earlier by 3 men in suits. Police failed to dust the vehicle for prints or interview neighbors thoroughly. Brother Randy Fuller has campaigned for decades to reopen the case, citing missing evidence and coercion. Despite petitions, the LAPD maintains the file is closed. Fuller's posthumous anthem, "I Fought the Law," now rings with eerie prophecy. An artist who challenged powerful interests and paid the ultimate, unexplained price. Ramon Novarro, 1968. Silent-era heartthrob Ramon Novarro aged gracefully into a reclusive bachelor, living in a Spanish-style Los Feliz mansion. On Halloween night, 1968, brothers Paul and Tom Ferguson, aged 22 and 17, visited after answering Novarro's escort advertisement. The next morning, Novarro's secretary found him gagged with a silver-tipped artichoke, wrists bound by telephone cord, beaten with a cane. $5,600 was missing, though police found $44,000 hidden in the house. Fueling rumors, the killers sought a mythical Bernstein necklace gift from Rudolph Valentino. The Fergusons confessed to robbery-turned-homicide, alleging Novarro had made sexual advances. Defense attorneys painted Novarro as a predatory degenerate. The jury still convicted them of second degree, yet sentences were light. Life with parole. Both were free within 2 decades. Activists decried homophobic bias that framed the victim as culpable. Unanswered. Who tipped the brothers to Novarro's wealth? Did others mastermind the attack? Some point to organized extortion rings targeting closeted actors, facilitated by crooked cops. Novarro's brutal end exposed the perilous tightrope LGBTQ+ performers walked in mid-century Hollywood. Success built on concealment, forever vulnerable to those who trafficked in secrets and violence. Thomas Ince, 1924. On the weekend of November 15, 1924, pioneering film mogul Thomas Harper Ince boarded newspaper titan William Randolph Hearst's opulent yacht, the Oneida, for what was billed as a birthday cruise. Also on board, actress Marion Davies, Hearst's mistress, comic genius Charlie Chaplin, columnist Luella Parsons, and a small retinue of Hollywood glitterati. 2 days later, Ince was hurried off the vessel at San Diego and died en route to Los Angeles, his body swiftly cremated. Hearst's press outlets announced heart failure brought on by acute indigestion. Rumors ignited instantly. Some claimed Hearst, in a jealous rage, mistook Ince for Chaplin in Davies's darkened cabin and fired a pistol, the noise muffled by the ship's jazz band. Others whispered that Chaplin's valet saw Ince carried ashore with a bullet wound to the head. Luella Parsons, then a modest staff writer, allegedly left the yacht brandishing a lifetime contract with Hearst newspapers, fueling talk of hush money. The official death certificate cited angina pectoris, but no autopsy was performed, and federal authorities never questioned passengers. Ince's widow, Nell, sailed for Europe with her children and refused interviews. Decades later, diaries from director King Vidor and Chaplin's confidant Harry Crocker repeated the shooting story, though both admitted they had no proof, only insider gossip and the curious silence that followed. Ince, the father of the Western, who revolutionized studio production with his In Seville lot, vanished behind a curtain of whispered gunfire and journalistic complicity. His abrupt cremation, Hearst's iron grip on the press, and the selective amnesia of Hollywood's elite forged one of Tinseltown's earliest and most enduring legends, an origin story for the code of silence that would cloak countless scandals to come. Olive Thomas, 1920. A jazz-age sprite with violet eyes and an impish grin, Olive Thomas rocketed from Ziegfeld Follies beauty to silent film sensation in just 4 years. In September 1920, she vacationed in Paris with husband Jack Pickford, brother of America's sweetheart, Mary Pickford, hoping to mend a tempestuous marriage marred by substance abuse and mutual infidelity. In the early hours of September 5th, Thomas stumbled into their Hotel Ritz bathroom and swallowed a large dose of mercury bichloride, a corrosive compound prescribed to Jack for chronic syphilis. She screamed, "Oh my God!" awakening Jack, who tried in vain to induce vomiting. After 5 agonizing days, Thomas died, her esophagus burned raw, kidneys failing. French authorities ruled it accidental, but headlines back home screamed. Gossip columns speculated Thomas discovered Jack's latest affair or a secret pregnancy. Others proposed a darker scenario, that Jack, reputedly violent when drunk, forced the poison on her. The bottle bore a French skull and crossbones label. Did language confusion play a role? Hollywood publicists spun tales of mistaken identity between medicine bottles, yet insiders whispered of drug-fueled quarrels in Montmartre nightclubs. The Pickford family leveraged its clout. Witnesses recanted, and a swift inquest exonerated Jack. Still, whispers persisted that studio fixer Charles Ayton greased diplomatic wheels to prevent scandal. Olive's funeral in New York drew thousands of weeping fans, but the open casket revealed a face ravaged by chemicals, hastily veiled by lilies. Her ghost, some say, roams the new Amsterdam theater where she once danced, a cautionary figure shimmering in blue light. Whether tragic accident or marital melodrama turned fatal, Olive Thomas's death became the first international Hollywood scandal, proof that even in its infancy, the Dream Factory could manufacture nightmares. Virginia Rappe, 1921. Labor Day weekend, 1921. Comedian Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle hosted a raucous party in Suite 1219 of San Francisco's St. Francis Hotel. Amid bootleg liquor and jazz, 26-year-old actress and fashion designer Virginia Rappe collapsed screaming in agony. 4 days later, she died of peritonitis caused by a ruptured bladder. Fellow guest Maud Delmont told police Arbuckle had dragged Rappe into a bedroom, locked the door, and assaulted her with brutal force. Newspapers exploded with lurid claims that the 266-pound star crushed Rappe or violated her with a champagne bottle. Arbuckle insisted she fell ill after heavy drinking and that he summoned doctors immediately. 3 sensational trials followed. The first 2 ended in hung juries. The third acquitted Arbuckle with an unprecedented written apology from jurors. Yet the damage was done. His $3 million Paramount contract shredded, films banned, career ruined. Medical experts testified Rappe suffered chronic cystitis and had undergone several illegal abortions, making her bladder vulnerable, but prosecutors argued trauma accelerated the rupture. Delmont, the prosecution's key witness, was exposed as a convicted extortionist and barred from testifying at trial. Yet, her initial affidavit had already scorched Arbuckle's reputation. Paramount fixer Will Hayes later cited the scandal when imposing Hollywood's first morality guidelines. Conspiracy theories endure. Some say Delmont engineered the accusation to blackmail Arbuckle. Others suggest studio rivals framed him to halt his lucrative new distribution deal. Rappe's own voice was lost amid moral crusaders and yellow journalism, leaving her fate an echo chamber of male power, female vulnerability, and the nascent tabloid machine. 100 years on, the question lingers. Was Virginia Rappe the victim of assault, medical misfortune, or a cynical smear that consumed 2 lives in one catastrophic headline? Ted Healy, 1937. Best remembered as the volatile vaudevillian who created Ted Healy and His Stooges. Comedian Ted Healy celebrated the birth of his son on December 21, 1937, with a night of cocktails at Hollywood's Trocadero Club. By dawn, he lay unconscious outside his apartment, face battered, skull fractured. He died hours later at St. Vincent's Hospital. The death certificate cited acute toxic nephritis, brought on by alcoholism. But witnesses reported Healy brawling with MGM star Wallace Beery, producer Albert Cubby Broccoli, and brothel owner Pat DeChico in the club's parking lot. Studio executives allegedly hustled Beery onto a European vacation the next day, while LAPD logged minimal statements and closed the file. Columnist Sidney Skalski claimed Broccoli bragged of beating a guy to a pulp, only to recant under pressure. Coroner Frank Webb initially listed homicide, blunt force trauma, but revised it after MGM fixer Eddie Mannix intervened. Autopsy photos, later leaked, revealed deep forehead lacerations inconsistent with a simple fall. Healy's widow, Betty, maintained he was killed by studio thugs, yet lacked the power to fight the system. Beery returned from exile months later, career intact. DeChico continued hobnobbing with gangsters and starlets. Broccoli went on to produce the James Bond franchise. Meanwhile, Healy's name faded, overshadowed by the runaway success of the Three Stooges he once headlined. His mysterious end stands as a grim footnote to Hollywood's golden age, when a studio's influence could rewrite a death certificate as easily as a screenplay, and a comic's final punchline was swallowed by silence. Natalie Wood, 1981. On the chilly night of November 28, 1981, the 60-foot yacht Splendor rocked gently off Catalina Island, until panic shattered the calm. Natalie Wood, radiant star of West Side Story and rebel without a cause, vanished from the deck sometime after midnight. Hours later, a sheriff's patrol found her body adrift, clad in a flannel nightgown, red down jacket, and blue wool socks. The coroner labeled the death accidental drowning, yet the autopsy recorded bruises on her arms, legs, and face, plus a fresh abrasion on her left cheek. Why would a lifelong aquaphobe venture alone into a dark Pacific swell? Captain Dennis Davern later swore that an argument between Wood and husband Robert Wagner erupted over actor Christopher Walken. Davern claims Wagner smashed a wine bottle, yelling, "Are you trying to seduce my wife?" before the starlet stormed topside. He also alleges Wagner delayed radioing for help for over an hour, ordering him to look for her rather than call the Coast Guard. Investigators noted the yacht's dinghy was missing its key and oar lock, suggesting a hasty, clumsy launch. In 2011, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department reopened the case. The coroner amended the cause of death to drowning and other undetermined factors, citing the bruise's probable timing before she entered the water. Wagner was reclassified as a person of interest, yet no charges ensued. Friends recall Wood confiding that the water is evil, and fearing she might be murdered on a boat. Decades on, the Pacific still guards its secret. Did Natalie slip, flee, or was she pushed? In Hollywood's collective memory, her last night remains a noir tableau, moonlit, whispered, and unresolved.